Hi there. Welcome to Monday Mindsets. I'm Mark Peebles here to help you get your mindset right for the week. Reminder that you can find Monday Mindsets as part of the Real Life and Real Estate podcast, wherever you get your podcast, or you can follow my page on YouTube. The handle is at It's Mark Peebles. This week, we are talking about the grit mindset. Sometimes you have to dig in life and have grit to get through the hard stuff. A lot of people get into real estate, and there's a lot of failure in this business. And I believe it's because people don't have the grit to fight through and ultimately be successful. My pastor always says, grit, don't quit. And so if you're going to be successful and you're not going to quit, you need to have grit. So let's talk a little bit about what grit looks like in our business, in our world where things are so hard. When you have grit, you make the calls even when you don't feel like it. I've talked about this on recent podcasts, how we can choose to be comfortable or we can choose to do the hard things. And the amazing things is when you do the hard things, life ends up so much better. But sometimes making those calls and doing the hard things takes grit. The other thing is grit shows up when no one's watching. On those days where you don't have any appointments on the calendar and you might be the only person that actually shows up to the office, or maybe you're working out of your home office, you're not even planning to go anywhere. Are you going to show up anyway? Because if you have grit, you're always going to show up. Grit outlasts rejection. So you just took a no, or you got a big punch in the gut. You were competing on a listing with someone that you knew you should have beat and you lost. You were rejected. That hurts. You took that punch in the gut. Grit says, I'm going to step in and I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep working to get the next deal. Sometimes you got to let that stuff just, brush off so that you can be successful. And that's where it takes grit. Grit works the plan, not your emotions. There's a lot of days where I just want to be done. I've had a hard day, a stressful day. Recently, I had a client in the middle of the day text me with a picture of the house that they had just bought on fire. Like that day, I just wanted to quit. That was so frustrating. And then I'm trying to help them through it because it's terrible for them. I can't even imagine what they're going through. Emotionally, I was exhausted. I wanted to be done. But the reality is I had to get back in and I had to work my plan. I had to work for that client, but also work for the next client because that's what it takes to be successful in the business. You have to have grit. Grit also plays the long game. We're not just playing for what happens today. We're playing for what happens 90 days from now, for what happens 6 months from now, or a year from now. If you focus on what is in front of you just today, and you don't, the deals that are in front of you today, and you don't actually focus on the activities that are important to do today to ensure that there's business there 90 days from now, then you're going to be struggling. And all of us go through those struggles, but if you don't want to be in that struggle, it takes the grit to play the long game. That means I'm doing something today, knowing that it's going to affect my life and my business 90 days from now, 6 months from now, 1 year from now. Do you have that kind of grit? So as we move into this week, I want to challenge you to have grit. My dad always said, son, set your chin and decide that you are going to be successful. In other words, set your chin, looking forward, and go in and do the work it takes every day. That's what it takes to have grit, and that's what I'm challenging you to have this week. Have a great week.